Hello everyone and welcome to another entry in our AUTOGEN series. So my apologies guys, it has been a long time since I've had one of these games on the channel, and for any of you guys who are new to the channel, this is a format I used to do a lot in Total War Warhammer 1, where essentially you just pick a random army. So you go into a multiplayer quick battle, you queue up, you find an opponent, and as soon as you get your opponent, you just randomly generate your army. So you don't really have any control over what you get, and when I used to do these, what I actually ended up doing is if I got like a spellcaster, so you can see over here, I do have an Ancient Tree Man, and I also got a Spell Singer with the Lore of Shadows, I would actually get rid of the spells I'm not going to use, and then distribute the chevrons over my forces to make it a little bit better, but you know, I feel that kind of goes against the true spirit of the game, so I'm just going to take whatever I'm given. You can see here I do have an Ancient Tree Man, and he has Lore of Life, and then I also have Lore of Shadows, and you know what? Some people might call that bad, but I call it tactical flexibility. So we have a lot of spells to choose from. So for our forces, we did get 2 Wildwood Rangers, which is pretty cool considering we're facing off against Chaos, who's a very heavily armored faction. They do get monster mashed by Forsaken and, you know, some of those very aggressive Chaos troops, but they still should be pretty good. And for an AUTOGEN army, this is very solid. On top of that, 2 groups of Eternal Guard in the front line. So, you know, a lot of times when you go random gen, sometimes you just get like a ton of missile units and you don't really get a good backbone to your army, but I felt pretty happy here with what I got. So I got these 2 Wildwood Rangers, 2 of these Eternal Guards. I got 2 Glade Guards, one with Hagbane Tips and one with the Starfire Shaft. So at least I have some armor piercing from these guys. And on top of that, the Ancient Tree Man is okay in melee. He doesn't have the best armor piercing values, but he should be able to hold up and use some of his healing abilities to kind of keep my Wildwood Rangers and other troops up. But the real bread and butter of my army is going to be from the Sisters of Thorn. So these are a unit I usually don't use often, but personally, I've seen a lot of tournament players use them who are, you know, much better at Wood Elves than I am, and I've seen them be used at great effect. So I'm pretty excited to try them out and see how the curse goes and all that other stuff. So I do have them right here, and they'll probably be a good counter against the Marauder Horsemen. They do have that slowing effect. You can see I dropped the Curse of Honorary here, which is going to lower their speed down to 47, it looks like. I don't know, 69 here. That's what she said. And oh, it's actually the poison, I think, from something else. Yeah, these guys have the poison javelins. So, yeah, that's pretty much it for the Sisters. Over here, I do have one group of Way Watchers who I was really happy to have. So I deployed them out on the flank and was going to protect them with the Wildwood Riders. And these guys are definitely very good against Chaos, in my opinion. If you can protect them from Hounds and Forsaken and things like that, they can just do massive damage against enemy Lords, elite infantry units. You can snipe out their casters. You can definitely get a ton of good stuff from them. So that's pretty much it for my army here. I do have Shadows and Lore of Life. For my opponent, he does have 3 groups of Marauder Horsemen Throwing Axes, probably just to deal with like Durthu or things like that. And Durthu is somewhat common in this matchup, so this is not an unusual pick here. Aside from that, he's got some Chaos Warhounds here. He does have a Deathcaster with, looks like only Fate Abuna. Very good to use Fate Abuna against like Skirmisher Cav, because oftentimes the Elves will just be kiting you, using Wild Riders to cycle charge your infantry. So the Fate Abuna, a very solid pick for my opponent. Kolek Suneater here, and he's actually going with the triple Hell Cannon. So the meme levels are just off the charts here. He has 3 Hell Cannons and 3 groups of Halberds protecting those, so they're pretty much going to be impervious against like, you know, Wildwood Riders or, you know, things like that, trying to get in there and get down and dirty. So without further ado, guys, let's get this AUTOGEN battle on the road. So right now you can see a bit of a fight going on here out of the gates. The Sisters of Thorn just chasing and counter skirmishing, and I'm also going to be sniping with the Way Watchers, getting some great value. So here come the Sisters just charging in, picking off a few of these guys, it looks like, and yeah, they're wavering, they're cursed as well, so their melee attack is going to be 0, which is pretty cool. And I'm pretty sure when it's at 0, it doesn't mean they can't hit you. I think it just puts them down to the minimum chance to hit. So over here, my Sisters are going to be retreating, just using them to kind of cover my Way Watchers here as they start shooting into Kolek. And you can see Kolek here taking a little bit of damage, nothing substantial. In the meantime, my Wild Riders are going to be chasing off these Marauder Horsemen, a little bit sloppy. You don't want to be spending, you know, a 1,200 gold unit chasing down these guys who pretty much you can't catch. So I'm going to be pulling them back to deal with the Hounds. The Hounds are the one thing that could really, really punish my Way Watchers. My opponent also gets a Fate Abuna on the Sisters of Thorn. Definitely not a bad idea, but you can see Kolek's actually being kited. I mean, he's at, well, I guess his speed isn't really being slowed by the poison for some reason, but he's on the hunt here. So in the front line, it looks like my opponent was going to try and come in and get my Glade Guard with the Starfire Shafts, maybe thinking I wasn't paying attention, but I'm able to counter him a little bit with these. But man, those Hell Cannons are just raining just destruction on my guys. You can see massive damage. My Eternal Guard just in really, really bad shape. And my Wildwood Rangers, thankfully, they haven't been targeted yet. So my opponent, I think he was going for my missiles just to kind of shut down my options for shooting the Hell Cannons, but he'll probably be switching on. Here comes another attack. Looks like it's just barely going to miss here. So my Ancient Tree Man, just going to be using him to kind of screen those guys out, but this is the real fight of fights. So right here, I couldn't quite get away, so I engaged with the Way Watchers, and then I also used my Shadow Magic. So I used the Melkoth's Mystifying Miasma to slow them down, and basically knowing that if I engage the Way Watchers, my Wild Riders will then be able to catch up, whereas if I keep running, it's going to allow the Hounds to kind of nip on these guys for a little bit longer before help gets there. So my Way Watchers, it looks like the AI did drag them back into Kolek, but I'm able to kind of force path them away immediately and screen out these Hounds. My opponent, seeing that the Wild Riders were coming, is able to pull back here. And it looks like I think he wants to get the Sisters of Thorn, perhaps. So Kolek's going to be taking some shots. I do have some Wildwood Rangers here who don't have anti-large anymore, like they did in the first game, but they still have really good AP. And Kolek does have 100 armor now, which is good. And you can see my Wild Riders do catch those Hounds. And I wonder if they're faster. Like, no, I think the hounds are actually a little bit faster. But the Way Watcher's doing some solid damage against Kolek. You can see he's down to about 5,000 HP. And I pull my Shadowcaster over here and just pretty much getting all the resources I can. So Kolek coming in with a Hulk Smash, and he's just going to be taking out... Yeah, he kills 3 models in one blow. Not a ton of HP damage, but this is a good situation for me. You definitely want to... I mean, these things can feasibly kite Kolek. I mean, he can chase him, but they can run and shoot. I have my Shadowcaster here just to kind of muck him up and also use some slowing abilities if I have to. But the mainline fight is definitely pretty scary. You can see a Fate of Una going down on these guys. And the Halberds, like, even though the Wildwood Rangers are in pretty good shape, you can see they're taking throwing axes. And the Halberds will probably be able to polish them off. I don't know, it's hard to say. I mean, they're very tattered, and that Fate of Una is going to do massive damage. You can see I'm sitting at 9 leadership, which is very, very tough for this point in the battle. And his Hell Cannons are still just raining fire down. You can see my one group of the Glade Guards with the Starfire Shafts completely dumpstered, and just look at this other group. He's getting crossfired here. But I was doing my best to snipe out this Deathcaster, so I had my Gladers. It sounds like a 90s cartoon or something. I have my Glade Guard with the Hagbane Tips just kind of shooting at his Deathcaster, trying to get rid of that Fate of Una, but really it's a little bit tough in the front line. I mean, my Eternal Guards are holding. I have my Ancient Tree Man, who's pretty good. He does have some 42 melee attack, 48 melee defense, so he's going to be able to Hulk Smash some of these guys, but they are anti-large armor piercing units at their core. So once they get rid of my Eternal Guard here, they're going to have a nice little surround, and I just can't really threaten these Hell Cannons yet. I just don't have the resources. But over here, we're able to get Kolek, so you can see the Wild Riders were able to surround him, these Wildwood Rangers, and I also was using Enfeebling Foe from the Lore of Shadows, which was able to do a lot of damage, and now my Way Watchers are going to shoot up and start being useful here. So the balance of power is pretty even, a little bit in my opponent's favor, but I think it's actually much better for me than it looks, because Kolek's being chased off the battlefield by these Wild Riders. He does have some of these Marauder Horsemen over here who can chip at me as I chase him, but I should be able to get Kolek off the battlefield, if not push him to the very edge. And my Way Watchers here are just going to be shooting into this blob of Chaos Warriors. But he has a lot left as far as ammunition on the Hell Cannons goes. This one has about 30%. This one's about, yeah, they're all about the same, relatively the same bracket of ammunition. But this was bad. My entire front line kind of collapsed here. And I probably shouldn't have tried to engage, but he had the artillery, so I felt like I kind of had to. And right now I'm going to be using the Earthblood on my Lord. I didn't have enough for a regrowth, so I just have to kind of waddle away. And you can see Treebeard here. Treebeard is going to be running for the hills, just trying to get away and drag him into some of these Wildwood Rangers. So I still have 53 of those. A good charge from my opponent here is able to chase down some of my missile units. My front line just very, very sparse. Obviously, I wasn't able to pick ample resources to defend my archers, but the Wildwood Rangers here are going to be fighting against some of these Marauder Horsemen, which is good. So he did overextend a little bit. My Shadowcaster is going to be coming in, and I wonder if she does like shadow attacks. No, it looks like it just kind of looks like a Lore of Life type magic thing. So the Marauder Horsemen are shaken, they're wavering, they're at negative 38 leadership. We should be able to break them off. And I do have troops coming back, and also my Dryads on the far side were able to rally, and I got them onto this undefended Hell Cannon, which is going to be really nice. Still 41 models, racking up a hard 0 kills after fighting those heavily armored Chaos troops. But I always make this mistake. I mean, I chased Kolek, and I was like, oh, he's going to run off the map. I'm fine. And then I didn't finish him off, so this was really disastrous, because it would have potentially triggered a big leadership issue for my opponent. And even Kolek with 800 HP is still scary. I mean, that's going to be, a lot to deal with if he's able to get back to the battlefield before the rest of his forces crumbles. Big mistake on my part there. Right here, my Spellsinger with the Lore of Shadows and the Wildwood Rangers are going to be chopping the Chaos Warriors with Halberds, and this is where they're really going to shine. Halberds do attack relatively slow. You can see the Melkos coming down and just all kinds of, tentacles and roots and just, not tentacles, just roots actually. Just going to be smacking here, and he's got his big Pimp Cane, which is pretty cool. And I do have a lot of troops rallying, and this is kind of the last pocket of his troops. He has a couple of Hell Cannons back here, some Halberds, but really his forces are starting to look a little bit tattered. And the Wild Riders coming in with the rear charge here. A little bit of an unimpacted. Well, there you go. They go fine. That was pretty nice. So that's really, really rough, because that was kind of my opponent's big core. Like 2 semi-healthy groups of these Halberds here are going to be pushed off by the Ancient Tree Man, some of these Wildwood Rangers, and the Sisters of Thorn are coming back from route as well. So they're going to be able to easily deal with these Marauder Horsemen throwing axes if I need to. And Kolek, I don't know if my opponent noticed he was back yet, because it kind of looked like he got pushed off the map, to be honest. But from there, we should be able to clean up, and you can see the Chaos Forces are just going to, there's only a couple seconds left in the battle, but I'm pretty sure at this point he just leaves. So yeah, well played. It was it actually turned out to be a pretty forgiving auto-generated army. Like, we had a decent core against Chaos. Like, Wildwood Rangers can fight like a good fight against like standard Chaos Infantry and things like that. Eternal Guards, I mean, are just, a solid troop all around. They obviously took the brunt of these Hell Cannons. And we got some decent missile play, but what I was really happy about is we did get a fair amount of missiles, which is always a little stressful in AUTOGEN because you can't always protect them. But I got Sisters who can slow things, very good, kind of a counter skirmishing cav, just a solid unit, and then some Wild Riders who were just MVPs. They were able to really clean up those hounds and do a lot of heavy lifting for me. So yeah, it was definitely fun stuff. I liked the army. I was happy with it. And if you guys enjoy this series, I know there's been a couple of you guys who really wanted it back, and I've just been neglecting to do it, so focused on a couple other things, like tournaments I'm going to be putting on and all kinds of shenanigans. But if you guys would like to see a regular return to the series, let me know in the comments below. And I'll try and do one at least maybe like once a week. I feel like it's something fun to throw in there. Maybe like an AUTOGEN tournament someday. So I'm actually going to be, maybe by the time this goes up, the announcement will have already gone up. But I'm putting up an announcement for the 2v2 tournament, the King of the Tomb Invitational. So that'll be going up. But maybe after that, we could do like an AUTOGEN tournament. I think that could be pretty fun. So well played to my opponent, Caesar 120, going with the triple Hell Cannon shenanigans. It was pretty fun fighting against that for sure. I love myself some triple Hell Cannons. And it can be really, really like scary. I mean, you guys probably remember that game I put up a couple months ago. This is pretty much the exact same build. Like, it's very, very similar. He uses the Marauder Horsemen, the Hounds, and just kind of like draws you into this like this atrocious situation, which is very stressful. I think it's a little tough against Wood Elves because they do have very good like missile play that can, you know, shut down the Marauder Horsemen. But anyways, very well played to my opponent, Caesar 120. Look forward to running into you again on ladder, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this AUTOGEN battle. Have an excellent night, guys, and take care.